y'all? Welcome to this episode of the Growth Blueprint. This episode is going to be about goals, and I wanted to release this now instead of like at the new year because I think setting good goals takes time, and it's really easy to set really shitty goals, and we're going to talk about what the difference is between like a shitty goal and a good goal is in a second. And it's significantly harder to set good goals, but the better a goal is that you set, meaning the time that you take to work on this, the more powerful it becomes. We're going to talk more about the power of goals and stuff here in a second, but first of all, we're going to talk about how to set goals, okay? So you need to set aside some time. I'm currently setting goals for myself for next year, and it's going to take me the rest of the month to do this. It takes me a long time to set my goals, and it's because I really take time to make sure that my goals are a fit for me. And we're going to talk about how to make sure your goals are a fit for you in this episode, so that at the end of this episode, you know how to set goals. You have a process to get clear on your goals so you can set goals that actually make a difference in your life. So first of all, you need to get a piece of paper. You need to get a piece of paper and set aside some time to start this process, okay? And we're going to follow a framework called the SMART goal setting framework. And SMART is just an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely. Okay, and we're going to go over what each of these means. And so, first of all, I want you to just like start to write down the stuff that you want. Okay, the stuff that you want for the next year. Okay, and this is just ideas. These don't have to follow the SMART framework. This is just, think about it like brainstorming. You know, maybe it's been a while since you've written a paper, but think back to how you had to write a rough draft. Maybe you brainstormed ideas, right? Then you wrote a rough draft, and then you looked over your rough draft, and you finalized your rough draft. And if you wrote anything like me, I was a terrible writer. I couldn't stand writing, and so I just kind of BS'd my way through everything. But we want to actually spend some time to brainstorm and refine and create drafts for our goals, because your goals are going to change your life, or they're not going to change your life, to be completely honest. And so a quippy little saying is like, you can't hit what you're not aiming at, and so you need to know what you're aiming at, like specifically, clearly what you're aiming at. Otherwise, you're going to hit what you aim at. And if you're aiming at nothing, chances are you're probably going to hit nothing, because nothing's really big. And the specificity of your goals, the things you actually want up here, right, they're very specific. You need to aim at these things. And so that's what we're going to start doing. So first, we want to brainstorm just some stuff. Maybe it's physical things, tangible items. Maybe it's feelings, right? Maybe it's progress on a relationship. Maybe it's a weight loss goal, a physique that you want to have. Just write all of this stuff down, okay? And then we're going to start running it through this SMART framework. And so I want you to start to take all of those items that you've written down and run them through the SMART framework, right? And so the SMART framework is going to pop up here on this side of the screen so that you can reference it again. And so specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely. Okay, so an example of this, maybe you want to lose weight. Is that specific? No, so let's make it specific. I want to lose 30 pounds. That's specific, okay? Measurable, that's also pretty measurable, right? Actionable, how can we take action on that? How can we make this a more actionable goal, right? So I want to lose 30 pounds by adding some action, okay? So we add some action to this thing. So I want to lose 30 pounds by paying attention to what I'm consuming and paying attention to the exercise that I do, okay? There's an idea. Relevant, right? Is this relevant to you? How is this relevant to you, right? Well, we can make this relevant by saying, well, I've wanted to lose 30 pounds for 5 years, but I've never been able to do it. So now we can make it relevant. We want to write that down with a 2. Having this emotional reason with it is super powerful. And then timely, let's say by July, right? So now it is time bound. So our first little rough draft of a goal is specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely. Instead of I want to lose weight, it's I want to lose 30 pounds by paying attention to the foods that I eat and the activities that I do, because I've wanted to for a really long time, and I'm going to do this by July. That's very different. That's a very specific target, right? A very specific target. And it took some work to get to that. Now, could we make it even better? And these are questions that I want you to ask yourself. How can we make that conform to the SMART framework even more, right? And so I want you to do this and then, again, go through and see if you can make it more specific, see if you can make it more measurable. We could say, I want to lose 30 pounds by paying attention to my diet and my exercise every single month. And every single month I want to try and lose 5 pounds. And so you can just break this down and make it more SMART, okay? Until you've refined these things into a clear goal, okay? And I want you to do this for all of these goals. Now, this is gonna seem rather overwhelming, but the idea is that we're going to start to see the patterns that emerge between different goals and how we can start to see the direction that we need to move, the habits that we need to change, the thought patterns that we must adjust so that we can start to move towards these improvements in our life, okay? I know that this doesn't sound easy, and this is why you have to take some time and why I'm releasing this episode right now. But use the SMART goal setting framework. I do things a little bit differently now, and I'm gonna talk about how I do it and just to help illustrate kind of the purpose of setting goals. But maybe your goals are harder to make fit into the SMART framework. They're a little bit less specific, okay? I would still challenge you to try and make them as specific as you can. But I want to talk a little bit about some tips and tricks that I have used in my life when it comes to setting goals that, like, you may not be able to necessarily measure with a number, right? And so maybe this is like, I want to have a better relationship with my spouse. It's like you can't really put a number on that. You can make it more specific, right? But you can't really put a number on it. And so maybe you don't know where to start. Some questions that I would recommend that you write on your piece of paper that you should have out as you listen to this, right? Some questions that I think will help you, make you think. But the one that I've been thinking about is, who is the person that I want to be in 1 to 2 years from now? And so this is kind of an all-encompassing question, but it's going to get the right mindset working, right? This mindset about thinking about the future, thinking about the person that you want to be, thinking about the things that you actually want from life. And this, like, again, this should be hard. It's hard for me. This is very difficult for me to do. It's very hard. I don't feel like I'm very good at this, but I have forced myself to do this. And that's why I'm starting my goal setting, like, stuff now, because it takes me forever. It's like, what do I really want? What do I actually want, right? And then why do I want these things? And so something that I would urge you to do after you have your smartly designed goals is write them all on their own separate line. And then underneath these goals, I want you to ask yourself, why do I want this? Why do I want this? And I want you to really sit there and ponder and write down everything that you can come up with, all the reasons why this is something that you should want, okay? Now, why are we doing this? It's asking why, right? We're doing this because we really don't want the thing that we think we want. We want the feeling associated with that thing. We want the way that it's going to make us feel. You don't actually want to be 30 pounds lighter. What you want is the way that you think being 30 pounds lighter is going to make you feel, okay? You don't actually want your kids to be the star athlete. You want the way that you think your kid being the star athlete is going to make you feel. You know, or insert whatever you want. That's how it works. That's how our minds actually function, is we don't want the thing. The thing is just a guess at the circumstance that's going to make us feel the way that we think we want to feel. And so we want to get clear on what that feeling is so that we actually know what we're working towards, okay? Again, this is why this takes some time, because we're doing some introspection. You know, these are not questions that you ask yourself on your 15-minute lunch break while you're scrolling social media, right? unless you want to set shitty goals, in which case go right ahead. Like, I'm not your boss. Like, you can do whatever you want. It's not my life, it's your life. If you want to do a shitty job setting shitty goals and get shitty results, by all means, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But this video is for people that want to set good goals so they can get good results and live a good life, right? So doing this deep work, asking these difficult questions that you can't answer in a simple 1 or 2 words is going to be the difficult work of setting goals. So up to this point, right, we have the SMART framework that we're going to use to start to run our brainstormed ideas through. So we're going to brainstorm our ideas. We're going to write down the things that we want. We're going to start to run them through the SMART framework. Okay, we're going to have little snippets of a goal, right? Sentences, maybe 1 or 2 sentences that clarify what our goal is, that make it specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely, right? And then we're going to really dig into the why this is important to you for each of those goals. Okay, after you have written down what these goals are and the why, okay, I want you to see if there's any patterns that emerge, okay? And I want you to really focus on which of these goals actually do you have a whole bunch of reasons for, okay? There should be some goals that stand out, okay? There are gonna be some goals that stand out. There's gonna be some goals that you're kind of like, well, I couldn't really come up with like a good reason why. It's kind of like, well, why not? I kind of want to, right? But there's not a big emotional driving reason behind it, okay? These goals, just erase them, scratch them out. They're not important enough to you, okay? We want to focus on the 2, 3, 4, 5 things that you really, really want, okay? And here's the important thing to remember. We're not trying to accomplish 10 years of change and growth in a single year, right? Maybe you have some things written down that just aren't achievable in a year. Maybe it's like, well, I want to buy a $1 million house and you're making 50 grand a year right now, right? Maybe that's a good long-term goal. Maybe you have some good reasons why, but we need to trim things down and look, okay, what is feasible to accomplish in 1 year? Okay, and so now is where we actually pick what we want to shoot for this year. And my advice to you, especially if you've never done this before, is maybe don't go over 4. The first time I did it, I only did 4. And it kind of helps. It kind of helps instead of, having like 15 things. You can't have 15 things. You can't be focused enough to accomplish 15 things. Okay, unless they're little goals. If you think you can realistically accomplish 15 of the things you wrote down, you need to set bigger goals. Your goals should make you a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, and so as you look at everything you've written down, look at the stuff that you think is too easy. Okay, circle the things that you think are too easy. Scratch out the things that don't have a good list of whys. And scratch off or circle the stuff that doesn't seem feasible to accomplish in 1 year, okay? Now, what you should be left with are things that make you a little bit uncomfortable about achieving because you don't know how you're gonna do it, okay? You shouldn't know exactly how you're gonna accomplish these things. If you know exactly how you're gonna accomplish the goal that you wrote down, it's too simple, it's too easy. You need to set it a little bigger, okay? This old cliche of like, shoot for the stars, or shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars. Like we're doing that, all right? We want to set goals that kind of scare us, that we don't know how we're gonna figure out. And that's part of the point, because that kind of uncomfortability is gonna make you move. It's gonna get your ass in gear because you're like, oh crap, I don't know how to figure this out. I need to figure this out because I don't know how I'm gonna do this, right? And that's part of what setting a good goal is finding that edge of your comfort zone and setting the goal on the other side of it. So you have to leave your comfort zone to achieve the goal, because we set goals so we can grow, and growth happens outside of our comfort zone, right? So, okay, SMART framework, we've refined it. We have our statements. We've written down why we want these things. Now we look at all the things that we've written. We get rid of the things that we can't accomplish in 1 year that don't seem feasible. We've gotten rid of the stuff that looks too easy, or we've made it harder, right? If you want to lose 10 pounds in this year, but really you've got 60 pounds to lose, right? And you're like, 10 pounds isn't that big of a stretch. Maybe we want to try to lose 60 pounds this year, right? Let's make it a little scary. So we've gotten rid of the stuff that's too easy, the stuff that's not feasible in a year, and the stuff that we don't have enough reasons why for. So now we've kind of narrowed our focus to a smaller list of stuff to focus on, okay? Now, you should have a set of goals that makes you feel a certain way. And I don't really know, there's not a way you're supposed to feel, but these goals, this list of goals, take the 2 or 3 or 4 of them and write them on a new sheet of paper in their own little place, okay? And I want you to sit there and I want you to read over those goals. And you should have an emotional response when you read these things out loud or in your head. When you say, I want to do this, and I want to do it this way, and it's going to take this long, and this is how I'm going to measure it, and it's going to do this, and these are all the reasons why I want this, okay? If you've done this correctly, you should have an emotional response to reading these goals, okay? If you don't have that emotional response, go back to the drawing board. It's okay. This is the practice of setting goals, right? We want to have a goal that impacts the way that we feel, because that's going to help us tap into something called intrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation is wanting to do the things for the sake of the things, okay? It's doing it because you want to do it, right? Not because you feel like you have to do it. It's doing it because you want to do it. And that's one of the powers of setting good goals, is if you set good goals, they're going to pull you forward into the future. That's why we have to set them outside of our comfort zone. That's why we have to be clear on why we want them, because they're going to pull us forward when we do this, and they're going to motivate us to want to achieve these things, okay? So that's how we set goals, and a little bit on the purpose of why we set goals. And that's really why. I mean, that is why, is because they're going to push us. They're going to direct our thoughts. They're going to be these things that now we have gotten really clear and focused on what we want, why we want them, and now we can just work on figuring out how are we going to achieve these things. And so this brings me to our next kind of way to think about things, okay? Once you have your goals set, it's time to start figuring out, how am I going to achieve these things? And so maybe get out another sheet of paper, write the goal and the reasons why on that sheet of paper, and then just a big H-O-W, how, and start brainstorming, okay? And brainstorm how you're going to start to accomplish these goals, the ideas that you have, right? Maybe you need to ask for help. Maybe you don't know where to start, right? Write all of these things down. Write down the problems, write down all of the stuff that's going to throw you off course, the things that you don't know how to do, maybe the people that you can reach out to, the ideas that you have, so you can start to get clear on a game plan for how you're going to accomplish these goals, okay? And then just some tricks that have helped me, right? I guess that last one that I just shared is a trick that has really helped me. Like, there was at one point I wrote down that I wanted to open up another location for a business of mine, and I did not have the funds for it. I did not know who was going to run it for me. I did not have a location picked out. It was just like there was nothing like groundwork laid for this at all, right? And so I was like, well, how is this going to work, right? And then I had to start figuring out, okay, if I want this outcome to happen, what are the things that I need to do? And I wrote it down and got really clear on okay, if this is to happen, if this goal that I want is to happen, what are some of the things that need to happen before it happens? Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is get a big ass whiteboard or poster board and write down your goal, write down why you want it, and write down some of the key things that need to happen in order for that to come true, okay? And then put it up on a wall somewhere where you see it all the time, okay? Write this thing, put reminders in your phone, make it so it's so hard to miss every single day, okay? Because what this is going to do is it's going to constantly bring your goals to the front of your consciousness. And so I tell my clients that oftentimes, that like so much of the value of having a coach is that we're constantly there. My team and I are constantly there reminding you about the things you're supposed to be doing and the goals that you have. We make it so you cannot forget about them, okay? And that's what you need to do. You need to make it so it's hard for you to forget about it, so that you have to think about it every single day, okay? Put it on the front door. Put it on both sides of the front door. Put it on the inside so you see it when you leave, and put it on the outside so you see it when you get back, you know? So that you're just constantly reminded, oh yeah, this is what I want this year. This is what I'm making this entire year about, is these 4 things. That's it. And I'm not going to get distracted because I'm seeing it all the time, and I'm focused on accomplishing these because this is why it's important to me, okay? Because we've taken the time to get clear on all of those things. So that's all I got for you for this goal setting kind of 101 thing. Yeah, I really, it takes some work. It's uncomfortable, it's difficult, it does take work, but I promise you if you do this, it'll change your life. It changed my life drastically. It's crazy. I can't even, like, blow your mind. So give it a go. You've got 4 weeks at the time that I recorded this, before the start of the new year, right? Before we can start working on those goals. So take some time this month. Get clear on what you want this next year of your life to be about, what you want to be able to look back on and be proud of accomplishing, because you can't hit what you're not aiming at. You know, nobody achieved the things that they wanted by accident. So, as always, I hope that I made your time that you spent with me today worth it. Your time is your most valuable resource, and so I feel responsible to make it worth spending your time with me. So if I did, rate the show, share it with a friend. I would greatly appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one.